Let me tell y'all why I quit selling cars. As most of y'all know, I've been selling cars for almost 3 years now. I mean, I made good money. I saved a lot of it, did whatever I wanted. The only thing was the hours. The hours aren't really that big of an issue to me because I'm just used to working so many hours. The issue only really comes in if selling cars is not the only thing you want to do, because when you're doing it, you're working so many hours, it's like you have to really make that your main priority, especially since if you're not selling a car, you're not getting paid. And I have a lot of other side hobbies that I kind of want to take more advantage of now, just like trying to do content, trading, doing all these kinds of things, figuring out really what's going to take me to the next level. So I recently just took a job in tech sales. I'm going to be working less hours, a little bit from home. I mean, I can't really complain. I made all the money I needed to make while I was selling cars, but at 20 years old, I feel like there's a lot more that I have in store for me.
Well, it's happened. Not only are the tariffs affecting the car prices, but have shut down the whole dealership. Lights are out, power's out, everything's gone.
Don't buy that new car. Don't do it. Don't do it. I know it's cooler than your current car, and it has like all the bells and whistles, and it has the colored interior, and it just looks cooler, and you want to feel cooler, and you want to feel like you're it, but don't do it. I'm telling you right now, you are it with your bucket car. Don't do it. And here's why. I am 27 years old, and I've always drove cash cars, like $5,000 cars. They got me from point A to point B. I never really cared about like how it looked. I was grateful for what I had. I thought they were great. And then I got married, and he wanted to get a new car. So we've got a car, financed a car. Love the car, hate the payments. Hate them. Materialism, specifically with a brand new car, unless you can buy it cash, unless you genuinely make the income to pay the payments and they don't hurt you, let's say you're making at least like a minimum $10,000 to $50,000 a month, which to be honest is what my husband and I were making at the time when we got the car, which is why it didn't really matter to us at the time. But if you don't have the money, do not get the dang car, because $700 a month for a car payment is not fun when that's what jobs are pretty much paying you now every week or two. Like it doesn't make sense to pay for a car that you're driving to work to pay for the car. It's a rat race. It's not worth it. Stop worrying about looking cool for your friends. I don't care. You know what's cool? You having delayed gratification. You staying in your bucket car and not caring about what people are saying about you while they rack up debt and have to work to pay off their car. That's what's cool. Buy assets and not liabilities. And let me give you a lesson here. You weren't taught this in school. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. Your money can make you money. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket, aka a car payment, a car loan. Don't do it. Don't. I promise you. Just don't. Don't buy that new car. Don't do it. Don't do it. I know it's cooler than your current car, and it has like all the bells and whistles, and it has the colored interior, and it just looks cooler, and you want to feel cooler, and you want to feel like you're it, but don't do it. I'm telling you right now, you are it with your bucket car. Don't do it. And here's why. I am 27 years old, and I've always drove cash cars, like $5,000 cars. They got me from point A to point B. I never really cared about like how it looked. I was grateful for what I had. I thought they were great. And then I got married, and he wanted to get a new car. So we've got a car, financed a car. Love the car, hate the payments. Hate them. Materialism, specifically with a brand new car, unless you can buy it cash, unless you genuinely make the income to pay the payments and they don't hurt you, let's say you're making at least like a minimum $10,000 to $50,000 a month, which to be honest is what my husband and I were making at the time when we got the car, which is why it didn't really matter to us at the time. But if you don't have the money, do not get the dang car, because $700 a month for a car payment is not fun when that's what jobs are pretty much paying you now every week or two. Like it doesn't make sense to pay for a car that you're driving to work to pay for the car. It's a rat race. It's not worth it. Stop worrying about looking cool for your friends. I don't care. You know what's cool? You having delayed gratification. You staying in your bucket car, not caring about what people are saying about you while they rack up debt and have to work to pay off their car. That's what's cool. Buy assets, not liabilities. And let me give you a lesson here. You weren't taught this in school. An asset is something that puts money into your pocket. Your money can make you money. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket, aka a car payment, a car loan. Don't do it. Don't. I promise you, just don't.
There was a time when the small subcompact SUV was well within your reach, but did you realize that the Mitsubishi Mirage is now the only vehicle that's under $20,000 US that somebody can actually afford to buy? Everything else has gone up to extreme levels and to numbers that most people can't afford. Remember, a lot of this now people are starting, it's the writings on the wall with people extending some of their car loans out to as much as 84 or 96 months. It's a clear indication that people can't afford the money. So all they're doing to eliminate and reduce their monthly payment is extend the loan term out, and that has an obvious ill effect for long term. Because we are see repossession rates climbing at an alarming rate. People are giving back the keys to their vehicles. They're getting into these long-term loan periods. Then something comes up, turns up the apple cart, and they wind up, unfortunately, either out of work, their job loss, health issues, and of course, just a change in finances naturally now draw that money back, and they can't afford to continue making payments. We all expect subprime buyers to get into some financial heat. And while I know somebody personally in the business who's now lending to higher risk buyers, once you actually have a bad financial standing, then you can't even get a loan. Banks won't touch you. And the unfortunate part is this gentleman that I talked to who said that if you have a subprime rating, if you're at a credit score somewhere between 450, maybe even 500, they don't want to.
You ever wonder why cars keep getting more expensive, even when they're just sitting on dealerships' lots? We all know dealerships can be pretty greedy. But it's not just the greed this time. This has to do with China. China just cut off exports of rare earth magnets. And you might be thinking, so what? Well, this affects everybody. Those magnets power electric motors, sensors, power steering, and stuff that's in almost every modern car, not just EVs. So this doesn't even pertain to people who hate EVs or would never own one. And guess what? 90% of the world's supply comes from China. Automakers are already saying that if this keeps up, production could stall by mid-July. That means delays, shortages, and yeah, even higher prices. Bottom line, the global car market is skating on thin ice. We kind of already saw that, but most folks don't even see where the cracks are. Why are they having this issue? If you're still here, you just fueled up on the truth. This is Midnight Fuel. Let's ride again soon.
Quitting my salesman job at the RV dealership was the best day of my life. So there was a lot of bullshit already going on that had me pissed off. We had a numerical list for all the salesmen. Every time a customer came in, the salesman at the top of the list got assigned to them. Tell me why one day it's my turn, I'm waiting on a customer, I straight up get skipped. They gave my customer to some other salesman, and he made a sale. So of course, I go to the manager, motherfucker's like, yo, deal with it. Bro, we live off commission. What the fuck you mean deal with it? You gonna reimburse me my fucking money? And then for anybody on here that doesn't work in sales, every single morning starts with some sort of morning meeting or a pep talk. Motherfuckers will make you feel like a piece of shit for not selling someone a piece of shit. If you're not selling, you're not trying. You need to be calling these people 10 times a day. They'd be saying dumb shit like that. Whole time the manager has never been in sales. I had this one Hispanic family I was working with. They were ready to buy the RV cash and walk out that day with their shit. Our finance manager came in trying to get them to finance through us. Blew the whole deal, bro. Cause she was trying to earn some money. But what finally led me to quitting, the CEO of the company came into our dealership. Our dealership was the #1 best performing in all the nation of all our stores. This motherfucker literally said, yeah, you're not gonna make any money. The RV market is slowing down and manufacturer costs are going up. Bro said, quote, it's gonna get tough for you guys to feed your family. Yeah, I was plotting my exit from that day on, bro. It was over.
If you're thinking about selling cars or you currently sell cars, I'm going to give you a little bit of background info on why I left the car business. Well, I guess the selling part and why I think it sucks. No hate on my boy. He's probably doing good. Respect to you. I got to give you credit for staying in the business, even though it's a difficult thing to do. But seeing this reminded me of why I left, okay? So I'm going to give you 3 main reasons why selling cars sucks. Now, selling cars can be very profitable, especially if you're good at what you do. Every dealership has a different kind of pay plan, so not all of them are the same. Most of them generally are pretty similar. So you have to do your research if you're trying to get into the selling of cars. The good thing is that you can actually get into selling cars with little to no experience in sales. Most of the dealerships that you go to will train you on how to sell. We'll get you your sales license, and then you could also, move up the ranks and become a finance manager or a sales manager, which is also pretty cool. But my 3 biggest icks with this business, number 1, as a car salesperson, you are not in control of the deal. Now, again, this might not be for every dealership out there, but for the majority of them, you are not in control of the deal. And what do I mean by that? So let's say you get a customer, it could be your friend or whatever random customer that you found on the lot. You get them sit down and they have an idea of what they want to do as far as numbers, and they tell you like, hey, I got $5,000 down. This is what my payment that I'm expecting. A lot of the customers do the research before they show up, and just about everyone that shows up on the lot isn't there just for fun. They are probably in the market to buy a car. So once the customer tells you what they want to pay or what they can afford, then you go to your sales manager like, hey, my customer Joe Schmo, they have $5,000 down. This is kind of where they want to be. So the sales manager will go in on the car that they want to buy, and they will, look up the numbers, put the numbers into the deal sheet, print out a deal sheet. And most of the time, again, not every dealership, but the majority of them will give you a deal sheet with higher numbers than what the customer asked for. In some instances, that's good. But in most instances, it makes you look like you're stupid or you're not listening to the customer, because the customer is telling you, hey, I have $5,000 down. That's what I want to put. I want to see what my options are with that. But the sales desk will give you a sheet with everything that they didn't ask for or everything that they didn't say. So now you have to present this deal sheet to the customer and explain to them why putting $10,000 is better than putting down $5,000. So this could go of 2 ways. The customer could be like, oh yeah, it's way better to put $10,000 down. My payment drops $100 a month. Or they see $10,000 down on that deal sheet and they're like, you're not listening to me. I'm out of here, which happens a lot. Also, once you get the customer committed and you have a payment figured out as far as financing and everything, when it goes to the finance office, you're also not in control of that. The finance manager could be really bad at their job. They could be wanting to screw you over and get a customer a bad rate. They get a customer a bad payment, bad bank, whatever they want to do, they're in control of the financing. So let's say you get the customer to the finance office and you think your deal is done, but then they go into the finance office and they see all the actual numbers and the finance manager, everything that they're selling them, they could still walk out at that point, and that does happen a lot. The second biggest ick for me is the process. So every dealership has, I would say again, most, not all, but they all have a very specific sales process that they want you to follow, which is cool, but you almost feel like a robot. And the worst thing about going to any kind of sales business, and let's say you're going to go buy a home and the realtor just feels like a robot. They're not like a real person. They're just telling you everything that you want to hear. That is kind of a problem, because most people just want to talk to a regular human being. So they drill this sales process into you, and then you end up being almost like a robot, and it sucks because you can't go out of the process that they give you. And then customers don't really like that because they don't really feel welcome, or they don't feel like you're an actual person and you're being legitimate. Again, I can't speak for every dealership. That's just the ones that I've worked at. My third biggest ick, and this is probably the biggest one, the lying. There's no way selling cars, there's no way possible. I just cannot see how it's possible to sell cars. Let's say you're a 15 car guy or 20 car guy a month. There's no way that you sell all those cars and not lie once. And the previous places that I had worked at, they didn't call it lying. They just said that they're not telling the customers the entire truth, which for me is not necessarily fair. Now, I'm not going to get into everything that salespeople lie about, but I can give you like one example. And the worst thing about it is that most salespeople don't really want to lie to their customers. I mean, I'm sure there's some that really do, and they, get off for it, but most people don't really want to lie to their customers, because honesty builds transparency, and that way you can actually gain customers. But to put it into perspective, let's say there's 2 of the same car. They're looking for a 2022, Honda Civic, and you have 2 of them in stock. One of them is an old unit, which the dealership isn't going to make any money on, but it's priced a little bit lower. And the other unit is priced a little bit higher, but there's more gross in the front for that car. So the customer is like, I want to get the cheaper one. Obviously, they want to save money. But then you have to lie to them and say, oh, well, the cheaper one, it has more issues, or it's a used unit or whatever, like that you have to make up and get them off of that car and get them on a car that's going to make them more money. This could go both ways. If the dealership needs to get rid of an old stock unit that they've been paying a lot on their floor plan, which tends to happen too. If you're on one car, they're like, hey, we got to sell them this car because we've had this car for 3 or 4 months and it's just been sitting in our lot collecting interest. So that's one thing that I really disliked a lot. You can have a customer sold on a car that they want to buy, and then when they get to the actual numbers in the sales desk, they're like, hey, they like this car, but we have another car that's almost the same thing that we've had for 6 months that we got to get rid of. Carlos, go over there and sell them on it. So then you look like a complete jerk and tell them like, hey, Joe, I know you want this 2022 Civic, but I got this other Civic that's a base model that we got to get rid of, And another thing that's an ick, which I didn't include in my top 3, but this is an honorable mention, is the margins. So let's say you sell a car and then in your mind, you're like, hey, we bought this car for 10 grand and we sold it for 20. So you should be making at least a pretty good amount of money on the front end gross. And then you get your slip back and you see your slip is for like $50 or $100. Well, how is that even fair? Well, probably the dealership moved that gross to cover another car that's been sitting on the floor for a long time. And you're not in control of the deal. You're not in control of how much money you make. And that's the biggest gripe for a lot of people, especially for me. And getting out of the car sales business is very difficult because once you know how to do it really good, that's all you know, and you're used to the money, you don't know what else to do. Luckily, I was able to escape and open my own business with a partner of mine, which we've been very successful at. But for a lot of people, they don't see a way out.
Here's some things I wish I knew before getting an electric car. I have an electric Mini Cooper, has a 100-mile range, which is absolutely terrible. Finding a place to charge is not as easy as it seems. You will show up to a charging station and half of the chargers will be broken. You will need to stop at a charging station that has food places around. Otherwise, you're just going to be sitting in your car for 30 minutes, bored out of your mind. Cheers. You will need to keep an eye on when your car is fully charged because you don't want to be the a-hole who leaves their car there after it's been fully charged while other people are waiting. Sometimes the charger will break while you're charging it, and then you can't pull the plug out, and then you have to call customer service. That just happened to me. Saving the environment is truly annoying.
I really can't believe I sold my car for this shit. Why the hell it takes technically 2 hours to get a 100% battery? It takes an hour to get an 80% battery. Why I'm going for 80%? And speaking of that, you said it was going to be cheaper than gas. Bruh, I just spent $50 to fill up on some electricity. Yeah, I could have plugged this shit in at home on a goddamn iPhone charger for all that, bro. For the cheap.
I no longer want an electric car. I no longer want one. Nope. No, thank you. I just spent an hour looking for a damn charging station. An hour. And now I'm here and I don't know what I'm doing and I don't know if the car's charging and it's hot. I don't know where I'm at. I don't even know if it's charging. I've been sitting here for like 20 minutes. I don't even know if it's working. I don't even know if it's working. I think I'm going to stop it. I'm just going to go because I can't deal with this. I'm sweating.
So I made it to the chargers. Made it, but I am like 4th in line to charge. Oh. Well, electric car mistake. I don't normally make this, but here we are. I have 7.5 miles to get to a charger. I have 11 miles until I die. I am at 5%. I don't know if you can see that. I completely forgot to plug in my car today and couldn't make it to a charger this morning. And all the chargers on this side of town are down. All of them are down. They're not, they're getting upgraded. There's like 15 miles of it, so I had to plug in at some random place and then I have to drive fairly far. Thankfully, there's one not too far now. I just can't believe myself. So, it doesn't happen often. I know someone will tell me, oh, this is why I don't have electric. Well, joke's on me. I got electric and, yeah, made the mistake. Mistakes are made. It happens. Options are limited.
This is one of the biggest flaws when it comes to owning an EV.
This is crazy. Again, this is the problem with EVs during the winter. I'm at 82%. I was at 100% when I started. Now I'm at 82. I only have 160 miles of range. I started with 210 miles of range. I only went 25 miles. It's been 32 minutes, 30-ish minutes. I'm averaging only 2.1 kilowatts per hour. and I've already used 20% of it was because of my climate, and I'm not even on 80. So how are you going to live in a colder climate with an EV? Because if you need the four-wheel drive, right, or the all-wheel drive, that's going to add drag. That's going to diminish your range. If you use the heat, any of the climate control settings, right, how are you going to defrost your windshield in the morning? If you do that, it's going to zap your battery. And we keep pushing this narrative that EVs are so green, but averaging 2.1 kilowatts per hour, that is atrocious. And depending on what state you live in, imagine if you lived in West Virginia, you're going to be burning coal to charge your electric car. How does that make sense?
Y'all, who said having an electric car is the way to go? Like, this is the most ridiculous thing ever. It takes more time out of your day just to charge. For a person that's on the go, literally you just want to like put your gas in your car and go. With an electric car, you got to take time out your day. You have to put it in your schedule. Oh, I got to go charge. And not only that, you got to factor in the time that people might be there because there's probably only 6 charging stations. It's terrible. Like, oh my gosh, bro, it takes literally about an hour to 2 hours. If you do not have a charging station at your house, you are screwed. You are screwed. Like, I don't under, and then the crazy thing is, in California, they want everybody to have one of these cars. Like, why?
This is the journey of me learning how to navigate having an electric car. It's 10 o'clock currently, and it's telling me that my car won't be available until 12:05 in the fucking morning. That's 2 fucking hours from now. I'm only cursing because I'm upset, and I'm having a hard time understanding the value and the convenience of having an electric car. I just don't see it. I just don't see it.
7.38 million vehicles were imported and sold in the United States last year. You're going to put a 25% tariff on 7.38 million vehicles. How much capacity do they have to bring production back into the United States? The president says, well, there's some places that only have 60% capacity. It's not as simple as just flipping a switch, but there's no doubt this is going to be a huge hit for the auto industry. Mary, I know you don't know exactly what's going to happen with tariffs, but 2 questions here. One, have you had a conversation with President Trump since he's taken office? And 2, if tariffs are put in place to increase what is paid for a vehicle built in Mexico or built in Canada and brought here to the U.S., how much of that would you be able to pass along to the customer, or how much would you have to eat?
With the Trump tariffs in full swing, General Motors might be making a major shift that could affect you. This move could result in a change in the prices of GM vehicles and the relocation of GM plants. Since the announcement and implementation of the tariffs, American automakers have been the center of attention. They have begun making moves to mitigate the effect of the tariffs on their businesses. Foremost among these automakers is General Motors. With their CEO in the front line of action, they could just find a way around reducing the effect of the tariffs. Let's consider what moves General Motors have made that sparked discussions. General Motors, through its CEO, Mary Barra, said that General Motors has contingency plans in place for the tariffs levied on auto parts and vehicles coming into the U.S. from the 2 neighboring countries. At the Wolf Research Investment Conference, she mentioned that the plan includes potentially avoiding short-term impacts of between 30% and 50% of the additional costs without deploying any capital. While she emphasized the short-term mitigation strategies set to be put in place, GM Chief Finance Officer Paul Jacobson had something to say on the long-term strategies that GM is working on. He added that the company could take additional measures to mitigate the effect of these tariffs, such as shifting production of parts or vehicles. This public address by CEO Mary Barra and CFO Paul Jacobson was needed because investors had already begun pulling out of General Motors stocks. In fact, the comments have provided detailed information on how GM believes it could reduce the impact of tariffs after investor concerns about the issue weren't addressed during the automaker's quarterly earnings call, which resulted in sending the company's stock down by 8%. In addition, this reaction by GM top officials has been observed to be in contrast to fellow American manufacturer Ford. Recall that Ford CEO Jim Farley, in response to the tariff announcement, stated that Trump's tariffs, whether implemented or threatened, are causing chaos for the U.S. automotive industry. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel with the bell notification turned on for more videos. In his words, Farley said regarding the tariffs announcement, "So far, what we're seeing is a lot of costs and a lot of chaos." He also said regarding the long-term impact that the 25% tariff across the Mexico and Canada borders would blow a hole in the U.S. industry that has never been seen before. For steel and aluminum, which are critical to the U.S. auto industry, Mary Barra said that General Motors is still studying the impact of steel and aluminum tariffs. However, she admitted that the company does source a significant amount of steel and aluminum from the U.S. She also stated that for the short term, General Motors has secured fixed pricing. As a result, costs of sourcing these materials could remain the same, further lessening the impact of the tariffs for the short term. The contrasting views and debates between Ford and GM suggest that tariffs are capable of bringing unpredictability and fluctuations in the American auto market. For now, nothing is guaranteed, and that's why GM is taking the lead in bringing about a resolution. One way they've done this is by organizing meetings with President Donald Trump. General Motors meeting with Donald Trump. The predicted crippling effect on America's auto industry has triggered several actions by auto industry stakeholders. Many stakeholders have held press conferences and interviews to voice out concerns about the impact that the imposition of this tariff could have on the U.S. economy. Some of these effects include rising costs and further.
The car market is collapsing. I follow economics kind of loosely because I find it fascinating, and I've been running in articles recently about the car market, basically saying that new car prices and used car prices are down, I think around 30% for used cars. And this is just kind of a mirror image of the inflation we saw in car prices during the pandemic. Car loans are at a super high payment right now. The average payment is about $700. And I think it's about 30% of people who have a payment above $1,000. Again, check my numbers on this. Anybody who likes numbers, I'm not as much of a numbers person. The percentage of people 60 days late on their car loan rose to 5.6%, which is double the rate it was last year at this time. It's also at a higher rate than the default rate was in 2009. What happened is that lending standards for cars became super relaxed during the pandemic in order to encourage people to spend money. And what happened is they were really just taking money out of the future because that economic activity didn't really exist. People were buying cars when they probably wouldn't have. And the new car market kind of had this story that they could lean on of like, oh, chip shortage, which who knows if that's true. They're saying the same thing about groceries. They're like, oh, it's inflation, record profits, thank you. And apparently new car sellers sold half the amount of cars that they normally do, yet made record profits. The used car market became very hot because the new car market was, apparently there was low inventory, or that's what the story was. And so a lot of people went to used cars. And what happened, because you had all these cars bought at a unnaturally high price, both used and new, now that the prices have gone down, a lot of people are underwater on their car loans. And so they can't sell the car to get out of the loan because the car's not worth that. This is the same system of factors that we saw in 2008 with the housing crisis. The only difference this time is that we don't have a whole system of derivatives set up on the car market, although apparently banks do sell back and forth car loans just like they do with mortgages. Oh, also, Carvana lost 70% of its stock price, and I believe CarMax has lost 30% in the last 6 months. So if you are in the market to buy a car, I would suggest you wait until the second quarter of 2023 until the most recent metrics have come out, because probably car prices are going to be in free fall. And yeah, I don't usually talk about economic stuff because I'm uncomfortable citing statistics, so you let me know if I got any of that wrong.
I haven't sold any cars, and it's the 7th of the month. Most people will be blacked out. All they would see is this. All they would see is this. Not themselves, but the black. But not me. Not me today. Today is going to be a great day. I got a bone coming in. Woof! That means a deal is going to be given to me. Why? Because I'm the bone collector. But I feel great. Who wants a Sequoia? I know. Too much. You want a fucking taco. Let's go. Taco Tuesday, baby. It's Friday.
You guys want to talk about what pain feels like? Imagine not selling a car on a Saturday. I had two customers today. The first one, they came in on an Elantra that they really, really liked, test drove the car. Car was perfect, but they're not going to have their down payment until like next week. What sense does it make to go to the dealership without your down payment if you know you need a car right there and then? So that was my first set of customers. The second set of customers, out the door price on the car was $24,000. They thought they were going to be $19,000 out the door because that's where their budget was. Your budget has nothing to do with our price of the car. I just don't get it. At this point, I just need to take some time out to reevaluate my process or something because I'm clearly doing something wrong. But you guys already know how the car business works. I can go a week without selling a car and then sell a car every single day for the next 2 weeks. That's just how it is. One thing I will say, though, it feels like I've just been getting the bad hand of things, bad credit or no down payment, can't get insurance. It's like a pattern for the most part. But you guys already know, we just got to keep pushing.